Hello, welcome to another episode of Asian Mythology Retold Triggers. Today is going to be a brief look at the objective triggers and how to set objectives for your maps. So, as you might remember from a previous video, if we go to Scenario, we're going to be focusing on the Objectives tab and the Chapters tab today. If you click Objectives, this Objectives editor pops up. To put a new objective in, we press Insert, much like a trigger, and then the objective side gets populated. What else is there on this map? So you can put the scenario title in here, and you can put a brief overview of things there. You've also got the spotlight, which I'm going to fill in, and spotlight text. Again, remember we can format these as before with colours and new lines. There's a spotlight icon option there if you want to put an icon in, but the objectives is what we're going to be focusing on. I will show you what all of this looks like when we actually play the scenario. So you'll see we have objective 1, and we have the initially visible and the primary objective ticked. Going to ignore these for now and just do the basic type. So objective 1 is the internal name, so that's what you will select on the trigger drop down. I'm going to keep this as objective 1 for simplicity's sake, but you could name it whatever you want to. The display name is what you want the player to actually see on the right side of the screen. So let's say collect 5 berry bushes. There's also extra objective text, which I'll put in there, and you've got the objective hint. So that's a basic objective. In order to make it appear, we put a trigger in, we press O for objectives, and then we've got the objectives effects here. So let's just stick with the most simple one, objective show. You can select the objective by the internal names and decide whether or not you play the objective sound. So let's play the scenario and see what this one looks like, and then I can show you what all of those texts made. So we've got the objective here, collect 5 berry bushes, but you won't see any of the other info I inputted. So this is the bare minimum that a player is actually going to see. If a player does by some miracle press the game summary dialog, they'll get to see a bit more. So over here you've got the extra objective text, so you should be including the objective as well as the extra objective text, as if you don't, it's just going to look like this and it looks a bit silly. So you've essentially got your short text over here and your long text over here. If you press this button, you get the objective hint that was typed in, and if you press the spotlight, and you should get the icon there, you get scenario title, the overview, spotlight title, spotlight icon, and spotlight text. Unfortunately, as you'll see here, new lines doesn't render in spotlight, it does in objectives as normal though. If you change the slider, you'll see that the objectives panel on the right side of our screen is flashing when I'm pressing this, so you can get rid of it or bring it back. Now we know what that does, I can go through a few more options with you for what to expect. So you'll see that we had the primary and initially visible options. If I uncheck primary, it becomes an optional objective. If I uncheck initially visible, it's just one that will have to be granted manually, much like we've done here with the objective effects. So by default it's set to be hidden, so you need to show everything with the show trigger. Force show panel will disable that option I was just playing with, where you can toggle on or off the objectives panel on the side. Let's put in another objective to show you some of the differences here. So this one's not going to be visible. This one, we'll call it objective 2, and let's use some red colouring for here. And you can eat the berries, and I'll put this as the text. And format that one. So if we play test, nothing's going to happen. If we put objective 2 in there and now have a look, we'll see the differences that one's made. So we've got our optional objective there in red, and if we go into the Objectives tab, we've got the formatted objective here. No hint for that one because I didn't input anything. When a player completes their objectives, you may want to tick them off. So let's create a slight delay here, and let's say we've eaten all our berries. How do we accomplish this one? We've got a few extra triggers here. We can do the objective complete, so let's do objective 2, and let's do objective failed for objective 1. Turn the sounds off, and then we'll see what happens with this one. If you check force complete, it will remove the objective there. So let's just do that without. So normal, and then 2 seconds later we've got the failed and we've got the tick. So that's what those different options do for the objectives. If I go back out and just briefly change this other option up here with force complete on, so this is completing our optional objective of eating the berries. You'll just see that on there as completed and the tick's still there. Now, we might well want to remove that objective after it's been done, and we can do so with a separate effect. Depends what you want your objective for, it depends what you want things to actually be doing. So again, with the objective effects, we've got objective hide, and that will essentially remove it from the player's visibility. So let's do that with objective 2. So you see we complete the objective as normal, and then it's removed, so it's no longer there, and it no longer appears on the objectives tab as well, so the player can no longer see that objective there. There are also some things in the game called objective markers. So you can create marker, you can remove marker. What this essentially does is it creates an object called a map objective at the chosen area, and all that does, as you'll have seen in the minimap there, is it creates this objective marker on the minimap, so this sort of target there. If you want to reveal an area, you can also create a revealer at the same time. So what I'd normally do if I had something I wanted to show is I'd have 2 cinematic blocks. I'd change one to a revealer, so we have line of sight, and then I'd change one to this objective marker, so you get the objective target on the map, so the player can see exactly where something is. That's going to cover all of the objective effects here. I'm just going to show you incomplete for the optional objective now, and then I will go into chapters. So that's what the incomplete one does. Hasn't really done anything. Okay, if we add one more objective, I'm going to eat the trees this time, which is questionable. You can see we have something here called the chapter editor. Now this works a bit like the groups editor for triggers, so you can press insert to create chapters. So again, you've got an internal name, so I'll call this chapter 1, and then we can again format this chapter text. We can then move certain objectives in to the chapter. We can create another chapter and move objectives into the second chapter, and we'll give that one a colour as well. So what's going to happen now that we've got the chapters is I'm just going to show all of these objectives at once. So 1 and 2 in chapter 1 and 3 is in chapter 2. Let's see what this looks like. So you'll see we've got these headings above the objectives now. So there's a way of splitting things up if you've got multiple sort of styles of the objectives. You could also split up the optional ones and the complete ones. Similar thing as before, if you complete your objectives, you're just going to have the same sort of effect, but it's going to be in the chapter. So I'm going to do a hide and a complete. So the hide is going to work after 4 seconds, the complete is going to work after 2. So looking at our second chapter here, we complete it, it's still there. If we hide it, then everything goes away. So if there is nothing in the chapter and everything's hidden, that chapter will vanish. I hope that one has been a useful explanation of the objectives. There's still, by the looks of it, a few buttons in game that don't actually do anything, so sort of a work in progress, and I may edit this video later on with further comments. Otherwise, we will see you again in the next video.